What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back for another video talking about the latest episode of The Last of Us titled The Price. This was, everything that I kind of predicted with my trailer breakdown and everything. This was a very emotional episode. Just flashing back to those days of the 5-year time jump that we got. Just getting a glimpse into the relationship, the rise and fall of Ellie and Joel's relationship, and the very emotional return of Pedro Pascal as Joel, and getting a glimpse of his past too, something we did not get in the game. Getting a glimpse of just seeing his upbringing with Tommy and just the fear they lived in of their father being someone who was a cop and someone that could get kind of too violent sometimes in his punishments and whatnot. And just seeing this interaction between him and his father it was really, really good. I really enjoyed this episode in just all aspects. And we got the Eugene part of the episode too, which I'll get into. But the episode opening up with this, very much flashback to 1983 between Joel and his father when they're kids. They have an incident where Tommy goes to try and buy drugs. Something comes up with the dealer. Joel steps in and just defends his brother and kicks this guy's ass, and they wind up getting picked up by the police. And their father, being a policeman, of course, he hears about this. And so Tommy thinks that his dad's going to come home and beat him with a belt, as, this is part of their past and everything. So they've come to expect it in some senses, just part of their discipline. And they live in fear of their dad. So Joel says, no, I will take all the punishments. I will take whatever he's going to dole out. And it takes a very unexpected turn because of their father kind of realizing that his kids do live in fear of him. He realizes the wrong that he's done as a parent and everything. Just this little bit that we get, this little bit of dialogue where he comes home and he actually sits down and has a beer with Joel. And Joel, I want to say, is probably mid to late teens at this point. And so he kind of talks about their grandfather, his dad, and how he was brought up, and how basically they're so much better off than he was. And he always wanted to say that he would try to do better than what his dad did, because he gives this story about how their grandfather, his dad, broke his jaw when he was 10 over a stolen candy bar. So just he recounts this story, and you can see he's getting choked up about it and everything. So it's a really beautiful episode and just every way possible, I think, because we see the similarities between how he was raised and how he kind of stepped in and started raising Ellie and everything after they got back to Jackson. And seeing how Joel wants to celebrate her birthdays, because we go in year by year, we skip a year here or there, but we see this relationship start off just super strong. They're bonding over these things. He surprises her with the museum and with the dinosaurs and the space exhibit from Apollo 17, I think he said it was. But just seeing how she lights up when he takes her to this, and seeing the dinosaur and being inside the capsule from the Apollo mission. And he has this this audio tape with a countdown from one of those things, something he tracked down. This is a secret that he kept probably for months or more leading up to her birthday. And just seeing the beauty behind their relationship in those first couple of years, and then as she, of course, gets into those later teen years where she kind of rebels a little bit, and she is trying to discover who she is, and all the while too seeing and understanding that she knows on some level he lied about Salt Lake, and just it's bubbling under the surface, and she's really rebelling and just being um, just disrespectful of him and everything, his attempts to raise her upright and everything. But we have the 15-year-old birthday where he takes her to the space exhibit. Then we have 16 where they're going out, and then 17 where this whole situation arises where he comes home to surprise her, and she is in bed with the girl that we saw from the first episode that she goes out on the mission with. And they talk about how that was kind of the only, I guess, other lesbian or what have you in the settlement. And Joel he's in shock, but he is having trouble understanding, I guess, and accepting that Ellie is in fact gay. And it's just this kind of struggle there for a minute, but then he doesn't want to make her think that he's not accepting of her. And all the while too, this girl that comes over to see her and spend time with her, because he walks in on them giggling and stuff, and they're kind of half undressed, but she's the one who gives her the tattoo. Because in the episode too, the beginning of the episode actually was pretty funny, honestly, because it's shortly after they've arrived and they're getting ready to celebrate her birthday and whatnot. in an attempt to hide the bite scar that she has on her arm, she burns herself. And then she burns herself so badly that Tommy has to intervene, get her painkillers. She's very loopy, and just she has some pretty funny dialogue, honestly, within that little segment.
I was like, here we go, and then I fucking went.
What?
And I took it off, and it was all red and melty and gross. You know what it smelled like? Pork.
So we get these birthdays that they're celebrating, and they progressively kind of get worse, where she's pulling away from him, and she knows that he's lying about something, and the whole thing comes up with the girl, and he just seems like he's being unaccepting, but I think he's just in shock and doesn't know exactly how to deal with it, because it's just very different to him, I think, and not exactly what he was expecting, because he mentions how that her and Jesse seem to have a close relationship. So he assumes that they are an item or they have feelings for each other. And he's very clueless in the aspect that she is not into guys. And so we have our 15th, 16th, 17th birthday. We skip 18, go to 19. And that's just where everything really starts to fall apart. And we start to see just the cracks that are forming in their relationship. And we see just how she really suspects him of lying, and she kind of tests him in a sense, where we get the Eugene part of the story. We were told that we were going to get a flashback to what happened with Eugene being Gail's husband, who Joel killed, and it was as we suspected. He got infected, and he was out away from town and everything. He wanted his last wish to meet his wife outside the gate so he could tell her goodbye and everything, and Joel he didn't feel like it was a good idea. He didn't feel like it was safe. But Ellie kind of talks him into it. But of course, this is just a way to get her to leave the area, because she goes back to get the horses. And then he leads Eugene off into this secluded area where he's got this beautiful landscape, and kind of trying to give him a good last moment. But Eugene sees it for what it is, and Joel ultimately puts him down. And this just pisses Ellie off to no end, because he lied to her once again, because he told her that she would honor his wishes, and he would take him back to the settlement so he could say goodbye to her and have his last wish. And this just sets her off, where after the deed is done and they take his body back to Jackson to let Gail know, he feeds her this story. And it's all well and good until Ellie steps up and says that's absolutely not what happened. And she's just sick of Joel's shit and sick of his lies. Even though they've had this very tight bond, it's just begun to unravel over the last year or so. And she sees that that was kind of the test, where he made the same face, he made the same kind of expressions or what have you, same mannerisms when he told her that everything that happened in Salt Lake, and that she made him swear. And this is where we get that scene where she's all teared up and she says, "You swore." And this is kind of the moment where she realizes that he did, in fact, lie about what happened in Salt Lake. And it kind of goes from there, and we jump to the party that we got in the first episode and seeing how the interaction happened at the dance and everything with Seth. And it was just all, it was all very emotional. It was an emotional roller coaster of an episode, and I really enjoyed it. And it was really great to see Pedro back to play this part and just see some of this interaction, some of this dialogue that he has with Ellie, especially up on the porch, because we didn't get that full scene within the first episode where she walks up, he's on the porch playing guitar after that party, after the events of Seth using a slur against her and Joel stepping in and putting him on his ass. She initially walks towards the garage and then it cuts, but we didn't get that part where she comes back up on the porch. This is also from the game too, but just a little bit more in depth, I think, where he admits to what happened. He admits what happened in Salt Lake. She is just beside herself. How could you take that choice away from me? And, at least my life would have meant something. And he just says, well, maybe one day you'll understand, because I love you in a way that you can't understand right now. And maybe one day you'll see my point of view if you are lucky enough to have a kid in your life or whatever. And so she says, well, I don't think I can forgive you for this, but I would like to try. And this, of course, is the day before he actually is killed by Abby. And so she never gets that chance, and just here we are setting off on this mission. And as the episode ends, it picks up back on present day, where Ellie has since done away with Nora, and she has made her way back to the theater. And so it was a lot to kind of digest in this episode. It was very, very good seeing Pedro back. I loved just what they did with it, seeing the rise and fall of their relationship and just everything that kind of led up to that ending decision that she just was so mad at him for lying to her all these years, but she tries to understand it on his level too. So it was just a very good episode. I really enjoyed it, and that is officially Pedro's last episode, and we won't see him again. And so I just have to wonder how the show will survive, because it's such a hard story to adapt in the first place because of just everything that it entails. And being that we're coming up on our last episode, the finale, it's going to more than likely end on a cliffhanger, and we're not going to get the second season from what I understand now. This is rumors, mind you, but this is something I saw today actually, and I had mentioned how they won't even start filming until next year. But we probably won't see season 3 until about between May and October of 2027. So another 2-year wait, which is just, it is what it is, but it still doesn't change the fact that it is absolutely ridiculous that we have to wait this long. But there's just, I imagine there's so many logistics involved in the filming process, whatnot, and scheduling and all that. But all in all, great episode. Loved it. I just absolutely loved it. And it's a shame that it was Pedro's last, but I do understand, and there's no more flashbacks involved in the game. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed my breakdown, my review, and just my thoughts about the episode. So if you did, please be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, consider subscribing, come back for the channel for more content just like this. I will see you next time. Take care. Bye.